So welcome. I'm so excited for today. Um, I'll tell the story when Venessa gets on here, but today is a really special day for the young woman that I get to talk with. But Debbie Saviano, and whether you're here live or you're watching the recording of this, I'm very appreciative and grateful because let's face it, life is busy, and summertime even more so. We have so much stuff going on, and so I just wanted to thank you for being here and for your support of Venessa, this whole event, and listen to all the things she's going to share with us, because she's going to talk about something I was that familiar with rural America. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in Miss Venessa.
Oh, thank you,
Hello,
Debbie.
Vanessa.
This is such an honor to be on here today. I have been looking forward to this since you asked me, and I'm truly grateful.
Oh, well, listen, my pleasure. You know, you and I are proof of how simple things can come from conversations. I don't remember if it was a year ago or 2 years ago when you and I met in the hallway in
Yes.
Florida at the AFPI event, and I remember I can still see us standing there talking. And I'm Stacy Sheffin had been bragging about what a phenomenal young woman you were and how much great things you were doing. And so then when I got to talk to you, and then you interviewed Linda later for your podcast, and so everything is full circle of how it
Yes.
all comes together. And we're proof of that. We are strictly proof of that. It shows you how sometimes just a simple conversation where it can go to. So thank you for being here. I'd love everyone to put their questions and everything in the chat, the comment section. Just give us a comment if you have anything you want to ask Venessa. Please do that so we can get that in there as well today. But let's just start at the beginning, because what you do is, I think, so fascinating, Venessa. Start at the beginning of Ag Women Connect. What moved you to launch it? How'd you come up with the name, the concept? Just start back at the beginning and take us through that whole process, if you would.
Okay. Well, thank you. All right. So there has to be a little bit of a backstory before I go into the full launch of Ag Women Connect. What I knew, Debbie, like as a little girl, that more than likely, like a 9 to 5 job was not going to be for me. I was raised in an entrepreneur house. My dad was a father, of course, a farmer, a rancher. He worked, he worked for the banks. He did lots of appraisals. Like he was the jack of all trades. And he set a really good example of that, of multiple streams of income and just being a hustler. My mom was the same way. She had her own ceramic shop out there right behind our barn. And then later on, when we got a little older, she had a job. She had a 9 to 5 job, but we've always just had that sense of entrepreneurship. And I just knew that I was going to go in that field. And I didn't know exactly what it was going to look like. Of course, with most people who are involved in ag, I did all of the FFA and the 4-H, went to college on a horse judging scholarship, had the time of my life at Texas Tech. Um, and so over those years of just building those relationships and networking, I started to listen to what women in agriculture were saying. And it was just, I still remember like the day, like how it felt, where I was in my room. And when God gave me answer literally to my prayers of, hey, like, I know I have a purpose in life. And this is something, Debbie, that I've been praying for 15 years. So after I graduated college, I graduated with an agricultural leadership degree, and of course started a family. Found a few jobs where I could work from home, but I just knew that I was just scraping like the surface. Like that was not it for me. And so I just kept asking him and asking him, and I was obedient. And so the answer came when it should come in his timing. And it was it was a summer day. I think it was in June, and I was getting ready to take my daily walk and listen to my podcast. And like just the way the light was coming into the room, and I was bending over putting my shoes on, and he was like, you need to build a network for women in agriculture. And I did not even have the name of it, but I knew, and I think we all know when God speaks to us, I had no doubt. I mean, it was something that was like, yes, sir, I'm doing this. And I really knew nothing about starting like my own business from scratch, but that's where the beauty comes into it. That's where the fun comes into it is, hey, like if God's put something on your heart, you're going to find a way to do it. And it's just been amazing. So that's where it really started.
That's amazing to think, but there's so many times you hear that, and I think sometimes what happens to people is they don't listen. They're not quiet enough to listen to those messages, those gifts. I mean, I believe that with every breath I have, and so good for you that you follow through that. Because a lot of times people don't listen. They think they hear something or they get that little nudge or wink or whatever you want to call it, but they don't really, follow through, if you will. You were very obedient. That's why we have this where you are today. Now, I know that obviously faith is very important. The family, the community are at the core of your mission. How did those apply? You said you didn't have a name when you started or what it was going to be called or whatever, or how to start the business. How did those things become the core foundation? How did you work around those, I guess is a better way to say that, when you started Ag Women Connect?
Well, for one thing, I just wanted women to come to congregate, like to network with no pressure, right? Like if they wanted to show up in their boots and jeans and their ball cap, whatever that was, like that's what really was important to me. And still today, Debbie, is the glue of this company. It is the relationships. It is just being able to be honest and real with where you are in life and to share that with others. And so it's all been for others, for other women in agriculture. This has never really been about me. And I know like how much women in agriculture, not only are they tending to the land and to the animals, and they're helping their husbands or their dads or their family, they're helping their kids. And like a prime example of it is I'm on here with you today, and I'm in a ball cap, and it says make cowgirls great again. And this is something I believed in forever. And the reason why I'm wearing one is I didn't have time to wash my hair today because I was washing horses this morning, and that's fine. And my cap came in earlier this week, and it's a part of our new merchandise. And so I wanted to obviously wear that too, to promote it. But, it's just real life. And that's what I want really to shine through Ag Women Connect. And I think that's what makes us really special.
It's funny you say that about the hair. And I think we moved out to the country about, I don't know, I'm so bad with time, 7 years ago, give or take. We lived in the suburbs until then, but our daughter and her husband have property, and they invited us to move out there, and we did, and we love it out there. I say there because I'm at a dear friend's house today out in her country, but life is different when you have animals. It's not like you can run off to, go do something. There always has to be someone there. There always has to be someone to feed the horses and the goats and whatever you might have. You got cows, you got to milk them, whatever it is you have. It's a different life. It's totally, you are immersed. I mean, it's and not just once a day you got to feed those puppies, but they expect to be fed twice a day. And so I remember when dry shampoo came out, I said, who in the world needs dry shampoo? And our granddaughter, Macy, who has the horses, the barrel racer girl, she says, Grandma, you don't understand. And I do now, but I didn't then. So that's just so cute that you shared that. I put the website up on the screen here so people can see agwomenconnect.com, so people can see to be able to share and go there and sign up and be on the email list and everything. But I appreciate your honesty there. You've worn so many hats. Tell us about going to school on a scholarship for horse judging. It goes to show you never know all the different, and I was a former educator for Pete's sake. It's not like I should know this. All the different arenas out there, no pun intended, of scholarships that are available, people don't know about. So horse judging, that's what you had your scholarship on?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Horse judging, livestock judging, meat judging is a huge thing at Texas Tech and other big agriculture colleges. So that's what I really excelled in. I know it was a gift that God gave me. And I've been judging open shows since college. And a dream that I've had to put on the back burner, it's just a season that I'm in, but I do want to go in and get my professional card and judge for the Paint Horse Association first, and then probably move into National Reining Horse Association and AQHA. So, but I'm telling you, I had the time of my life. I went to a junior college first, Clarendon College, and it's kind of in between Amarillo and Childress. So it's up in the Panhandle, and I learned a lot. And Debbie, I thought forever that I was going to Texas A&M or West Texas A&M. And that summer I was showing, I had a beautiful Overo horse. He just passed away this year, but I got him when he was like 2 years old, and within like a week of buying him, the trainer was like, "You're going to show this next weekend, and all you have to do is just get the pattern right." And I was like, "Okay." So like the reining pattern, I mean, there's quite a bit of things and that goes into that, but I just made it as simple as I could. And we went to Abilene, Texas, and I won my class. I promise I'm coming back to this question, but I won that class. And the Texas Tech recruiter for horse judging was there. And it just shows you like what a small world it is. But his dad was really good friends with the trainer that had trained my horse. And so Texas Tech picked me up to go horse judging. And then we also started the first ranch horse team of America, which is now all over the United States. So that was just really neat to be a part of.
You know, you mentioned FFA, and as again a former school principal, FFA was such an important community within our schools, you know, and I went to so many different judgings over the years of different things. And then Brooke Rollins, her kids do, when they raise some bulls out there at Fort Worth for their FFA. And our granddaughter Riley, when she showed rabbits, I'd never been to I don't know what you call it, rabbit showing. I don't know what you call it, but anyway, rabbit show. The judges, the thoroughness and what they check for, and oh my gosh, it was an education itself watching that. And I remember thinking, Riley, I thought she just raising some cute little rabbits, right? It was so much more than that, and the education behind it. But people don't know that because they don't go to those. So if you take one thing away from today, y'all, I hope it's you take away, find out an FFA, whatever it is in your community, whether it be horses or some other animal you can go see. The state fairs do a great job of that, showing it. But it's such an unsung community, unfortunately, that people don't always know about. And I think that's sad. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to have you on here today, because I think it's important for people to know what does go on. So talk about that with like some of the work you're doing now. You know, what do you do from, you know, kind of morning to night with the animals, maybe not right now, but in your life that you've done and helping take care of animals and all that kind of stuff? What's involved for people who might not know? They don't know what that life's like.
Sure. Well, if you're going to show an animal, it takes an extreme amount of commitment. You know, and I speak from experience with horses. And then there was a couple of years that my daughter showed pigs. And so it's a lifestyle change. I mean, it's not something that you can drop. I mean, because obviously the animal depends on you. And if you want to do good in competition, then you have to stay dedicated. And so that means, you know, feeding them every morning and every night. Sometimes, you know, there's other people that feed them multiple times a day, just kind of depending on what their needs are. And then, you know, with horses, you have to make sure that they're shod, which is the technical term is a farrier. You know, you call a farrier out there to trim their feet and put shoes on. And there's supplements that you can put them on. I mean, it is a multi-million-dollar industry. And you know, horses alone, you have your race horses, cutting horses. Those are top notch. I mean, reining horses, barrel horses. And right now the market for any type of horse right now is you better have some money. I'll just say that. You know, back in the day when I just started out in 4-H, Debbie, like $2,000, $3,000 was a lot of money for a horse back then. And so to be able to get that type of horse right now, it's going to cost you anywhere from 20 to 50,000. So
it's amazing. That's such an interesting point, because as I said, Macy Riley did rabbits, which were a lot less expensive. But Macy with the horses, actually Macy's high school graduation gift from us was a horse. So we get you. Totally understand what you're saying, but it is a world that people aren't familiar with. But if you go to somewhere like Barnes and Noble and you go in the magazine section and you see all the horses that are there, I mean, all the magazines are there for horses and animals. It's fascinating, but it's such a private world that so many don't know about. But you're right when it comes to the money. Oh my gosh. I mean,
yeah. It's probably more
yeah.
up there in the billions, to be honest. Some
I
of those.
bet it is.
Yeah.
If you put all those together, I get your emails, and you had one on the 4th of July that was so touching. And I just thought it was just such a special email. They all are cool emails, but I really appreciate the 4th of July one. What do you draw from? Matter of fact, I got one today. What do you draw from that you are to craft your emails and to do those different things that you do, that you share and everything?
Well, I do like to mix it up, Debbie. As far as our staples, I want to make sure that we announce, every new business that comes into Ag Women Connect and every new member that comes into Ag Women, as well as, the chapters. So we had a brand new chapter pop up in Northeast Oklahoma that we're super excited about. And so it's all about like giving these women appreciation and recognition. I hope others are inspired by that. But also, current events. This week has been extremely hard for me, just as a mother and as a human being. And I know I speak on behalf of many all across Texas and the nation. As we're dealing with the loss of the floods, and I just knew since we created the Ag Women Connect Foundation, in the beginning, it was specifically to pour back into these communities who have, lost loved ones or who have come across natural disasters. And, but it just took a few days for me to even grasp, what was going on. And before I send anything out, I just want to make sure that, I just want to make sure that it's good and it comes from the heart and it's not rushed. And so I took my time with it this week. And, here at Ag Women Connects, we know that there's good people in the world. And a lot of those people are in the agriculture industry. We come running when somebody, in our circle or in our community needs help. And so we started something where you could donate to the local FFA, they're in Kerrville, and then they will, give that money out to whoever needs it. And, whether people find us or find somewhere else to give, that's what really matters, is to continue to uplift these people, not only in our prayers and thoughts, but also, what can we do to be the hands and feet of Jesus? Like, what actions can we take, to help? So that was what was really on my heart on this week's email. And then, of course, we're really excited about the Red, White, and Blue conference coming up in October as well.
Well, and Mary Lee said she was sorry she was late. You're never too late, Mary Lee. You got here just at the right time. So thank you for being here, as with everyone else. I think that's a really good point, Venessa, because what the tragedy with these families, and I'm here with a dear friend, we're staying for the weekend, and I can't even fathom. It's tragic enough to think about property loss, but then for those who had animals, like you and I are talking about, oh my gosh. And then you think about those horrific, the families that lost children and loved ones. I can't even fathom what those, I mean, like you said, with prayers, obviously we're all doing, but I think the importance of trying to help financially, because they had nothing left in those homes where the homes floating down the river. So I don't have it here, but afterwards, if you go into the comments and just put the link, that would be great. And then we can make sure that we share that, because I think that's just so important to be able to, and I think giving the FFA community like that is a really important thing, because that's about as close as you're going to get. I mean, that is right there with people to be able to help them. But that was just, oh my gosh, such a tragedy. And talk about the Red, White, and Blue, because I'm excited that Stacy and I are both going to be speaking there, and talk about what you do and what the purpose is of the whole event.
Right. So this will be our second year to have the conference and also the gala, which is where we hand out our scholarships to our young men and women in agriculture. So it's a combined weekend. It's going to be super high energy this year. We're going to start off Friday with a fashion show with Howdy Hanny. You can find her on Instagram and Facebook, but she doesn't live very far from me, and she has done an outstanding job of creating just like everyday Western wear that women can obviously, wear at a horse show or out on the farm or out on the ranch. And I love her heart. And so we're going to showcase her, and we've got a couple other boutiques that are going to be a part of that. And we're going to really promote cotton, the importance of wearing cotton. And if you're familiar with Lubbock, Texas, the Panhandle is like the #1 producer of cotton. And so that just goes really hand in hand with our conference. And then the gala, of course, that night, we're going to have Claire Dunn, and she's an amazing singer. And not only is she an amazing singer, but she really goes out there and advocates for agriculture. She's pretty spicy, and I'm excited to have her because I know she's not going to hold back, and she just knows the importance of supporting our farmers and ranchers. And so then the next, yes, and then the next day is going to be Saturday is going to be our day of education. And, one thing, Debbie, that we did almost immediately after our conference last year is that we ran a few polls to see, what our network was wanting to hear about and wanting to learn more about. And the #1 thing, and I mean, it was outstanding. Like it far surpassed anything else, is that these women want to know and learn more about policy. And so that's one reason why I'm really excited that Stacy's coming. We've got some other women that are going to come in and talk about policy as well. We're also going to talk about education. Debbie, Ashley Cash, and she's working very, very hard on some things right now. And she's local to Lubbock, Texas. And so she's going to be there talking about education. And if I know her, more than likely she'll be talking a little bit about finances too. So we've got a lot of great speakers coming in. Molly Ball, the national director of FFA, is also another guest speaker. And then the president of Ag Trust Bank will be coming in as well and speaking. And honestly, I can go on and on. I mean, Sarah Phelan Tate, she's very active on LinkedIn. If y'all don't already follow her, please do. Her mom, I believe, is sitting in as the Secretary of Interior, and that is Karen Fallon. They're from Wyoming. They're amazing people. She's going to come in and talk. And then we're also going to have like a fun little self-defense I wouldn't say class, but presentation is a better way to say it. So we're going to have a self-defense presentation. So you think about, just women in agriculture sometimes are isolated, and we need to talk about those things. We need to talk about protecting. Absolutely. Now we have to protect ourselves. And so I'm really happy that that's coming into this conference as well. I believe our text. Oh,
no, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Our Texas Ag Commissioner, Sid Miller, will be there along with several other dignitaries. And our Texas Speaker of the House will also be there as well. Dustin Burrows.
And you're putting out a shout for you. Our Miss Brooke Rollins is kind of local. She's from Fort Worth. And now that would be a greit one to have. I know you'd love to be able to have her. So Brooke, if you're listening, are you
Hey, I'm crossing my fingers. I've sent some emails in, but I know how busy Brooke is, and we're happy to have her for sure.
So you are, for someone so young, I think, Venessa, what really comes across to me the most is that you're so young, you've done so much, and you're continuing to grow this. You've become such a strong voice for rural America and for conservative leadership. And you talk about like the safety issue for women because so many are out by themselves, if you will. What are some of the things you see are the biggest challenges for women in the ag space some of their biggest challenges? What do you see those as being?
I think you said it earlier. It's juggling. This is what I hear through my podcast every week. It's juggling life. Wearing those many hats. We want to be successful. We want to bring in income for our families. We want to be great moms. We want to pursue our passions. We want to give to, there's just so many things we want to give, beyond our means. And I mean, this is something I've personally dealt with too, Debbie, is just, trying to keep everything spinning at once and not letting, the ball drop on one thing. And, but something that has been really refreshing is that women, they work hard, and I think they work a little bit differently than men. They're more open to have these type of conversations, to have these hard conversations. And 41% of farmers and ranchers right now represent women. And we are beginning to see that number rise more and more with every year.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Thank you, Ms. Donna. Donna's saying it's going to be a great conference. I couldn't agree more. You just talked about this much. I know that the breadth of the things you have planned for that weekend. So that's going to be incredible, that all the things that you're doing. I did a post, and there's so many different platforms out there where we all do stuff. And of course, my playground is LinkedIn. But I was saying how much of America is rural, and the number of people, to your point, and they're the people who put the food on the table. When I was growing up, my Uncle Jack, my cousin Darlene, her daddy was a farmer, and he grew cotton primarily. And back then in Plano, you could drive down the roads, the country roads, and all you'd see on the side would be like it was snowing, because it'd come out of the trucks. This is years ago.
Yeah.
You don't see that anymore because it's not there, unfortunately. So I think cotton is a great thing to have. I think that's going to be fascinating. And my daddy, who just recently passed, he always wanted everything cotton. It's so hard to find cotton products these days, clothing. 100% cotton. It's almost impossible. So I'm excited about that aspect that you're doing. That's really going to be interesting, to say the least. Tell us about, you mentioned your chapters. I think you have 15 chapters in 9 different states. Tell us about your model for that and how they're set up and what their role is, and et cetera, et cetera. Talk to us a little bit about that, because I think that's really interesting.
Okay, sure. Well, to start Ag Women Connect out strong, I had to get the foundation right on our chapter here in Lubbock, Texas, and in the Panhandle. And so that's, where I started. I know that consistency, 80% of showing up is success right there. And so I wanted to really just be that example of like, hey, it's okay. I don't care how you show up, but we're getting together this month. We're going to do a tour. We're going to have a guest speaker. Or, hey, we're not going to do anything. We're just going to come together, have coffee or a drink, and just, share what we've been through. So, there's not a lot of strict guidelines as far as becoming a chapter leader. I want people to use their own creativity in that. I want people to use their own talents and gifts and shine the light on what agriculture looks like in their community. And so, of course, our Texas chapter looks very different from what our Florida chapter, looks like. And I think that's great. I mean, it's, in Florida, they're able to talk about the orchards there, and, the livestock there is a little bit different. And there's a young woman, Elizabeth Shirley, that is, she's in college right now, and she is leading that chapter. And she came to our conference last year. Werner University is a small Christian agriculture college in Florida, and they brought a whole group of young women. And so, that really, sparked a fire in Elizabeth. And I'm just so proud, that she's leading that chapter. And, I even have women, Debbie, who were not raised in agriculture. One of my dear friends, my COO right now, Crystal Butler, you can find her on LinkedIn. She helps me with a lot of things, our content and planning and she's just incredible. But she's from Miami, and I just love how God aligns, people in your life. And she was needing a job, and I was really needing somebody to help me with some administrative um, things throughout Ag Women Connect. And here she comes, and she's like, I want to know everything about food. She's like, I'm she had some health problems, and so she just started really diving into some research, and she found us, I think, on Instagram. And so it's just really cool to see all women from very different backgrounds come together and support agriculture in their own way.
That's really fascinating you say that, because I think when I was young and when I had children, forgive me, Lord, I'm not sure why, but maybe we didn't know as much. We were just more ignorant. But young women today, young parents today, are much more in tune with what they're putting in their bodies for their children. I mean, I learned that from Macy and Riley and Dakota, my granddaughters, the red dyes and stuff. I mean, thank goodness for Robert Kennedy to make those changes. I'm not sure what the food's going to look like. I don't think it's going to look as pretty, but I think it's going to be a lot healthier for our bodies. But what a travesty that they could sell things in America to our children, but they didn't sell it overseas because they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't take they wouldn't buy the products. So that should be telling us something, but nobody ever was told that, right? Another thing I think is fascinating, Stacey's daughters, both her daughters, but Knox especially, kids today are very interested in regenerative farming, going back to nature, if you will. Yeah. I've seen some fascinating things on TV and shows. I think the last one I saw was called Common Sense, about the regenerative farming, but that's coming to light. And I think I credit a lot of that to social media, because we didn't know what we didn't know. Do know now.
Comment again.
Exactly. You do a lot with your podcast, Your Story Matters. And talk about your podcast and why you started that and what your goals are, and just give us, and obviously where people can listen to it.
Sure. So when I first started Ag Women Connect, I was hopping on a Zoom about once a week in 2020, early 2021, Debbie. And this was more of like a wellness check, just like, how are you doing? How can we help? Can we pray for you? If you have a problem, maybe we can help you work through that. What are some solutions that we could bring to the table? And I'll have to shout out to my good friend, Sid Miller, our Texas Ag Commissioner. I was introduced to him through a really good friend of mine. And again, this is where networking comes in. And so he was really excited about what I was doing in Ag Women Connect. And so I'm pretty sure he mentioned this to RFD TV. And then I had also walked into RFD TV about a year before the podcast. And I was down in the Texas stockyards, Fort Worth stockyards. And I was with my mom, just started Ag Women Connect. And I was like, I feel like there's something here. I need to walk through these doors and just hand them my card and just see where this goes. And so between Sid and the Cowboy Channel and RFD TV and just me planting those seeds, somebody got the idea that I should have a podcast. And I honestly just didn't really know much about podcasting, Debbie. And I was a little bit in a frenzy, when it was all coming together, like, I'm actually going to have a podcast, and this is the real thing. And it's going to be up on rural radio every Saturday. And so I just really feel like God orchestrated all of that. And I have had the pleasure of interviewing around 150 women over the last 2 years. And it's been incredible. I can't even put words to it, honestly. So that is something that I look forward to every week on Tuesdays at noon. And if you're listening, this is open to the public. When I interview our guests, you can actually be on that Zoom, and there is about a 30-minute window, maybe not quite 30 minutes, about 17 minutes, where if you have a question, you can ask our guest questions as well.
That's really important, because so often with podcasts, it's just giving information to you, which is awesome. And we get so many great information, things from those. But to do what you're doing, I think is really more what people are seeking in a community. They really want to be part of something. They want to know that they're there and that they're recognized and that they're heard from. So, well, you've got the podcast, you've got the newsletter, you've got, tell us, because the foundation, and I know you've done a lot in the past. We talked about that earlier with the things that you shared in the newsletter with different links where people can give. But talk to us about the foundation, and I'm not confidentiality, but what's something that comes to mind with someone you helped, or some story you can share without divulging names, or,
Yeah, sure. Well, this was also laid on my heart in 2022. We had some local fires that had devastated our region, and tornadoes. And I thought, I had a really good friend that I was introduced through Ag Women Connect that knew exactly what to do to get a foundation started really quick. And I knew my strengths and weaknesses. And I said, here's what I'm thinking. Can you help me put this together? And so we got it together pretty quick within just a couple of months, Debbie. And so the first thing, as I had mentioned earlier, is that we wanted to give back to the communities who had faced natural disaster, or our network who had just faced really hard circumstances. And the first year we had our gala in 2022 in Slayton, Texas, at a beautiful gin, an old cotton gin that my best friend owns. And it was just a great group of women, and that came out and supported it. And we were able to raise around $8,000 that night to a really good friend of mine who unfortunately had lost her son to a terrible accident, Debbie. And, we're still friends today, and we still get to do life together. And in fact, one of the scholarships that we provide for the now is in honor of him. And his name is Cash Mullins, and he was a very special kid. So, I think our foundation has definitely grown in the last couple of years. The Junior Ambassador scholarships have been amazing. The first class of women that came through this last year, I've been able to stay pretty close to most of them. And, we get to talk, and they've come to some of our other events, and they're hungry, and I love to see that. I love to see that in our younger generations. They're always asking for opportunity, or, how they can help, and for advice too, just telling me a little bit of what they're doing. And not only me, but other women in our network. And, we just try to help them the best that we can. So It's been awesome. I can't wait for this second class of junior ambassadors to come in, and as well to give out those Cash Mullins scholarships too.
What's your goal for raising funds for the red, white, and blue? Do you have a number that you have for your goal to raise that during that weekend?
I have 50,000 on our platform, but I honestly think that we can do more. I would like to do more. I'll just be real honest, Debbie. Fundraising is not for the faint heart. So it is not. And there's just a lot of responsibility in that. And I think we had a great turnout last year for our conference and gala. And I'm hoping to have more people at this conference and gala too. And, I just want to be able to give more. And I also want to be, I'm just speaking real honestly. I'm also want to be at a point where I'm not always super stressed out about, being able to provide these scholarships and provide help. And so when you run a 501c3 or foundation, like, I feel like you're always pushing, and you're always working on that, right? And that's not a bad thing. It's just it is what it is. Just like with any young company, right? You just got to
the reality
there, and you got to stay in there and keep at it. So it doesn't happen overnight.
Well, that was many reasons I wanted to talk with you today, because I think, as we said before, so many people don't know about the world you're talking about, rural America. Mm-hmm. They just don't. It doesn't get the news. It doesn't get the publicity that it should. And I think that's unfortunate, because that is what it's the backbone of this country. Let's face it. If it wasn't there, we wouldn't, have food on our table, so to speak. So, I mean, you have served hundreds through your mentorship in different things, through the healthcare, through financial independence, et cetera. Talk about that as far as the biggest lessons that you've learned about resiliency and what you teach others when you're working with young people, because I do think those are important factors that sometimes we forget about.
Yeah, I think, well, like I said earlier, I wanted to give kudos to this next generation coming up. So I think they're very innovative. I think they're very smart. They're finding different ways to make money and to work. And I think that is amazing. But one thing that I would like to see is for all of us just to work on our communication skills. Perhaps maybe, Debbie, to take your time and respond instead of react. And that's one of my favorite things, and you alluded to it earlier too, is busy is not always does not always mean that you're successful. So just reevaluating your life and what does success look like for you? What does success look like for me? Like, it's different for every person, and in every season that we're in, it's different as well. So if you took the Venessa 10 years ago, I was running, I had a very good paying job, but I was not home. And, I finally got to the point where that was not what success looked like to me. And so now it's, giving back and spending time with my family. Family is above all besides God, And so I just want to encourage, women, and I say this all the time when I'm speaking, is like, God has you exactly where you need to be right now. Like, you have a purpose in where you are right now. And sometimes the things that we're praying for is right there in front of us, right? It doesn't mean that it has to be something grandiose and spectacular. Like, your purpose for that day or for that week or for that year could just be as simple as raising your babies, right? Or picking up, one extra job, or, whatever that is, or finding one more way to give. So I hope that women know how important they are and how amazing they are, if they've got families. And I hope that they know who Christ is as well. Their confidence should come through the relationship with the Lord, and that they are enough.
Right. Very beautiful. Well said. Beautiful, beautiful. I think that's one of the, we have all these different generations. I think of you as so much younger, what you are. You're thinking of a younger generation. There's all these different generations, if you will. And I love what you said about enjoy life with. You get to have life with them, because we're all in this. I mean, we only walk this journey once, and let's do it in a positive way. And, sometimes people will say, well, you're big on social. Why don't you go say something about that? Meaning be negative. I'm like, everybody gets to do a good job. I don't care who you are and what you do. And I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. I believe everybody wants to do the best they can. And so who am I to say why they did that or didn't do that? That's not my place. My place is to do what I can do in my own little circle of control. And my circle of control is just me, not anything else. So I think it's really important what you're sharing with young women and doing that. As someone who's built a national platform like you have from the ground up, what advice would you give? I don't want to say for women in particular. You kind of alluded to it just a minute ago, but even a little bit more so if they're in agriculture or they want to do something like you've done in creating change in their communities. What's one thing, 5 things, whatever? What's something you'd give them as far as counsel is concerned?
Yeah, I love this question, and I've been thinking about it, quite a bit. So, like, over the last year, Debbie, I have just found, like, your inner circle. Hang on to those people. Hang on to those people, and it's okay if your inner circle just has 4 or 5 or 6 or 7. 5, and this because you're friends with a lot of women who are in really, really big leadership right now. They're running the country, and so I say keep your inner circle small. And I kind of, I'm just speaking real honest. I've just kind of learned the hard way, and that's okay. But hang on to those people. And, those are the women that are, when they see a problem, that they're going to come to you and they're going to uplift you and they're going to bring solutions to the table. Those are the women that, or men, if you have a bad day, that they're going to, give you some advice, but also say, get back in the saddle, let's go. And that's, who I want to surround myself with, Debbie. And that's who, that's what I really want to speak to anybody. It doesn't really matter what your age is keep your inner circle small, love on those people. I mean, honestly, it's those, and I kind of feel like I'm contradicting myself here, but because Ag Women Connect is obviously for everybody, but I'm just talking about from a management and a leadership, standpoint.
Yeah.
Yes. That, when you have that strong core, Debbie, you can do amazing things. I mean, just think about how our Constitution was made up. Think about the people who are running the country right now. It's a lot of supportive people within those small circles that are getting things done.
It's interesting. Amen. Totally, so much agree with that. I always say that, you've got that core, and I say 5 because I always say if you've got 5 people that you can call at 3 o'clock in the morning, they won't judge you. They'll say, "How can I help?" And I'll be there now.
Yeah.
And they're loyal, and they're trustworthy. And I say this with love, but also say with a lot of experience, they're hard to find. And when you find those people, because you need to keep them, to your point, very, very close, because you want only, and again, we're talking about that core, because then when you have that solid core, then you can help all those others that you're helping with Ag Women Connect. But if you don't have that core, your own support base, you can't do it. And so, so young women, listen, I think that's a really important thing to take home with, because I love people, you love people, I want to be around people, but at the same time, that core is that core. And it's different, because you have to, they have to know if they tell you something, you're never going to repeat it ever to anybody. It never leaves your mouth. They have to know you're trustworthy. And again, so when you find that, kudos. I think that's a beautiful thing to share. I encourage everyone that's listening here today to be sure and connect with Venessa on LinkedIn. And in the comments when we're done, Venessa will put in the link to share for the flood victims in Texas. And also, you'll see her LinkedIn profile. You can go on and make sure you're connected with her. And hopefully everyone's connected with me. If you're not, please connect with me, because I love digital space. I love social media. I love LinkedIn. I love all of it. But it gives us a way to, the fact that you and I met, wasn't it like 2 years ago? It was a long time ago.
Hey, that's one of those moments that I remember. We were standing in the hallway in Palm Springs, and you were so friendly.
Palm Beach.
Oh, Palm Beach. Sorry, Palm Beach. And
Palm Beach,
I came to that conference with eyes wide open. I still think about it every day. That was a very, very special time. And I was so honored to be able just to be there. And so I was soaking it all in, but you were just so cute and you were so sweet. And I remember sitting in the room with Linda McMahon, and I didn't even really know exactly who she was, but I just kept watching her. And I was like, I don't know who that woman is, but I want to be her friend. And I know that she runs the world.
If only she could. If she could, we'd be in a lot better place. That's for sure. The conference that Vanessa's talking about was America First Policy Institute, and I'll put that link in the comments later as well. But it's an organization devoted to what's best for America, and they do incredible work there. And Linda was part of that before she went to the cabinet. And Stacey Shefflin is still there, who is the America First Women's Initiative and doing great things with that. It's an amazing organization. Martin Gillespie is the person that Venessa and I know so well. They just do incredible things. And that's where we met. And I can remember standing in the hall. I can remember looking out the palm trees, seeing the sun coming through.
Yes.
I just couldn't remember that it was a year and a half ago or 2 years ago. But anyway, thank you, Lord, for letting Venessa and I meet. So Venessa, thank you so much for being on here today. It was such a pleasure and a thrill. And I just can't thank you enough for what you're doing for rural America and the women in rural America, because they need a voice. And I'm so happy and glad that it's you that's helping them find that voice and to be able to share it. So thank you so much for being here.
Oh, you're very welcome. This was an amazing interview. I'm usually on the other side of things, Debbie, so it's nice to take a seat on the other side and tell my story.
Well, you did a great job, Tom. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you want to share?
I don't think so. I'll just put a little plug in again for the conference. You can find all that on
Yep.
agwomenconnects.com. You can get your tickets. We are hopefully going to have the full schedule finalized by the end of the month. But Debbie and Stacy, some of these women that we've mentioned already, they're my role models, and I am really happy to be able to share them with you at this conference.
And it's not until October, so you have time, folks. And so I have the link up there, but I do encourage you. I had planned to go to Vanessa's Derby day that she had a few weeks back, and my daddy he passed right after that. And so it was a bad time for me at the time. I wasn't able to leave him, so I wasn't able to be there. So I love Lubbock. I love the whole area up there, and it's a cool part of Texas, and it's where John Wayne used to say he was shooting the movies.
Okay, I'll take that. I'm a diehard John Wayne fan.
Absolutely. John Wayne movie. It makes me sound so old. Anyway, thank you, Venessa. God bless my friend. And thank you, everyone, for being here, either live or on the recording. I appreciate it so much. Everyone have a blessed day.
Thank you, Debbie.